Okay, so I'm just going to double check that we are live in the Facebook group. Yes, I can see us. So I will say a good morning to everybody who is watching us this morning or perhaps later on. For those who don't know myself, I'm Sandrine. I am the facilitator of this Facebook group, Hormone Harmony, and I help ladies manage their first symptoms of perimenopause and also menopausal symptoms naturally through nutrition. Now, what you will find out as you get to know me a little bit better is that I like to also promote any other therapies that can help women going through that phase in their lives. So anything that can help alleviate symptoms is truly beneficial. And for that reason, I have a special guest today, and her name is Ross, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. But basically, Ross is a yoga and Pilates instructor, and she specializes in helping women going through menopause. And they are, yoga exercises that are designed to help basically reduce some of the symptoms. So good morning, Ross. Welcome.
Good morning, Sandrine, and good morning, everybody else who's joining in today.
So before we dive in, I'm just going to say, if anyone is watching live and you want to ask a question or you have a little comment, I would love to know, for example, if anyone watching is actually practicing yoga at the moment. You may need to allow StreamYard to share your comments so we can see it on our screen as well. So feel free to put your comments below, and then we'll either reply straight away or afterwards so that we don't disturb our nice little flow, hopefully this morning. So as you join, let us know if you are practicing yoga. I'll be really interested to know, and if you are doing it, how long you've been doing it for. But now over to you, Ross. Tell us a little bit about you and how you came about, discovering yoga.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yes, thank you, Sandrine, for having me today. Anyway, so yes, my name is Ross, and originally I'm from Italy, but I spent a lot of time, obviously, most of my life here in the UK. I discovered yoga about 30 years ago. And at the time, I was practicing Hatha yoga. And I have to be honest, it took me through my sort of previous life, previous stresses. My job progressed in the corporate life, and it was very stressful. And without yoga, I don't know what I would have done, because it did bring a lot of benefits to myself and to my family as well, because I was a lot calmer possibly than I could ever been. So and then going through the menopause, my menopause years, I was looking around, and I started to be a little bit more restless about the lifestyle that I had, looking around to different things I could do. And so I looked into studying yoga, and I started off with a very sort of short course, an introductory course that any yoga teacher needs to go through. And then I took it from there, and I continued my studies for another 3 years, and I got a diploma. So been teaching since 2018. And I just loved it. So I was doing my part-time job, and I was also part-time teaching yoga. And eventually I switched to full-time yoga at the end of 2019. Nowadays, I basically can work every day.
Wonderful.
So I teach independently, and I have my own classes. I teach in gyms. I teach different styles of yoga, and I also teach chair yoga in care homes.
Oh, wow.
So it's all very, very sort of, all ages, all different abilities, because yoga is adaptable to all different different people, different conditions, different individuals. The interest in menopause is when this training came up. and I reflected on my years of going through the menopause.
Mm-hmm.
And to be perfectly honest, I was very much unaware of what support was there,
Yes.
if there was any support,
Mm-hmm.
and very little education about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that mine started when I was about 44.
Okay.
So, and the reason why I'm saying that is because all of a sudden, and this was noticed by my boss as well, I started to become uncertain about the way that I was working,
Okay.
and found it difficult to take decisions without referring back continuously. Whereas before, I was very much determined. I would take decisions and things, and all of a sudden, that kind of was starting to dim.
Okay.
So I think that's probably was when I started. You know, I had the night sweats, I had the brain fog, I had
Mm-hmm.
all of the symptoms, as I said, with very little support. When the
Okay.
training came up, I thought that I would do it, see what it was like, see
Mm-hmm.
whether it was something that I could work with and help other women and support other women through their menopause years.
Fantastic.
And I found it really very, very not just interesting, but very useful. And it brought together a number of different disciplines that I had already had experience with.
Fantastic. So to give perhaps the people who are watching, you know, the first question I suppose is, can anyone join even if they've never done any yoga in their lives? So if someone is, say, 50 something and is maybe not, you know, used to exercising, and, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, I'm not flexible enough, you know, can I still do yoga? So would you advise anyone to join?
Absolutely. There is no age for yoga, and anyone can start doing yoga at any stage of their life. And I've had a couple, elderly couple, and they were in their 80s when they started yoga. So it was chair yoga, you know, but still we were moving and we were sort of doing breathing techniques, breathing control techniques.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyone can join, anyone can join the menopause yoga at any time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, and the other thing that I also need to mention is even if someone is on conventional medical treatments like HRT,
Mm-hmm.
because yoga is a kind of a movement and natural therapy, it doesn't interfere with any treatment. But
Fantastic.
yes, and you don't need to touch your toes to do
Very
some people
important
some
detail.
people say, well, I can't touch my toes, and I would never ask anyone to touch their toes.
That's really important to say because a lot of people do say that, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I say, oh, no, I can't do yoga because I can't touch my toes. So.
And in terms of benefits, what have you seen in your experience, obviously, of teaching menopausal ladies for many years? You know, what is the biggest benefits you've seen? What have people, you know, shared in terms of feedback, in terms of, you know, how it's helped them? You know, which symptoms did you, you know, help the most with?
So there are various, as you know, there are various symptoms. There's more than 30,
Mm.
and I think I would group the benefits into. So there are physical benefits,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, as an exercise and movement. Then you know you have your muscle toning, muscle strengthening. The weight bearing exercises help with you know bone health.
Mm-hmm.
And also balance with you know exercises that one can do. There are the other physical benefits is if someone really needs a rest, the part of the is a restorative. So it's a restorative yoga where it's a complete rest.
Okay.
And some other perhaps individuals, if they, for example, suffer from symptoms like the lethargy, We have vinyasa, a little bit more energetic. So
Mm-hmm.
we would do some salutations, for example, whereas if someone needs calming, we would do a moon salutation. If someone is suffering a little bit from anxiety, then we will try and do a water salutation, for example. So there are different ways that physically we can look at an individual, see what they need, and provide support for that. Provide a type of yoga which supports the person and hopefully alleviate those symptoms.
Great.
For pranayama, which is the breathing practices, then we've got different practices, and those work on the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, cooling practices for someone who suffers from hot flushes, or energetic practices for someone who suffers from a bit of lethargy, a lack of energy, or even motivation. So there's all different aspects that we can look at, and obviously the other one that sometimes it's very subtle. When we go through change, whether it's we're talking about menopause, change for any individual, as we know, we need to manage change, whether it's changing house, changing job. So the physical change, in addition to the physical change, we also have a psychological change.
Yes.
In the woman. And so we're looking at, for example, guided meditation, relaxation, to help reframing the mindset, because it's quite interesting to, for example, when we have the masterclasses, we have a woman's circle, and it's interesting to get the input on how an individual feels about the menopause, and in that, then you can see what that person actually needs, and the subtlety could be, sometimes we go through adulthood, and womanhood means bearing children, or and one feels that the decline in the hormones, the change in the body, it's kind of it almost feels like a kind of a negative experience. And what we're trying to do is reframe that, and say, okay, well, this is a change, and it needs to be managed. We live in the present. We can't live in the past. Whether we feel anger or sadness about what happened before, we have the present. So mindful practice is to be in the present, to enjoy what is there, and without the fear of the future. And sometimes that's also a kind of a subconscious maybe feeling that someone may have, but the yoga itself actually help in that, to reframe the mind and to rewire a little bit of our brain as well, and see this event in our life as an opportunity for personal growth. So, maybe the children have left home, or that at university, maybe work-wise we can go part-time, and we can find and fill the time with, could be volunteering, it could be something else, could be learning a different skill. So there are so many things that a woman can just have a look at and say, okay, well, what would I like to do?
Absolutely, a bit like a new beginning, a new stage.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's interesting you said that, because some of the yoga is the menopause yoga imports yin yoga, and which basically is drawn from the traditional Chinese medicine, where we work with the meridians in our yin yoga practice. And it's interesting because in the traditional Chinese medicine, the menopause is seen as a coming to wholeness, coming to a point and having what they call a second spring, which
Yes.
is it's absolutely lovely. If you think about it, you know, you've gone through a phase of your life. They each had their own season, but
Mhm.
now you have the opportunity to enjoy your second spring, which is fantastic.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a lovely way of looking at it, isn't it? Such a
It
positive
is.
way. Oh, brilliant. Oh, thank you for that. So you mentioned all these different types of yoga, depending on what sort of symptoms people have, perhaps. So how do you teach? Do you do group session? Do you do individual session? Are they online? Are they physical? How do you teach?
Yeah, so the classes, the master classes can be online and can be in person, and also can be in a group or can be one-to-one. If it's a group, it's a small group. It has to be a small group because um, we'd like to have the ability for everybody to have their say, to share their experience, to offload anything, because
Mhm.
in amongst women, you know, this was our ancestors used to have groups of women. They used to gather together. They used to support one another, and so it's trying to recreate that support group. So
Yeah.
if you know, some people say, "Oh, I can only go for a group session because they prefer it. They like to share." And so yes, it's online, in person. Its group is one-to-one. The group classes, they are targeted to basically teach postures, breathing, and so on for particular symptoms.
Mhm.
So, for example, there's four main areas that menopause yoga looks at, and roughly these are hot flushes and stress.
Mhm.
And then there is the anxiety, low moods. Then there is the rage. Okay,
Mhm.
so especially during the perimenopause, my understanding is that um, it's more prominent to
Okay.
feel irritability and that. So and the other one is so hot flashes and the stress and the anxiety I've mentioned, the rage I've mentioned, and uh, the lethargy as well. So
Yes.
there's four main areas which we look at,
Mhm.
and they are targeted. Master classes would be targeted for one particular, and we try to combine the postures that are designed to alleviate those particular symptoms. We
Mhm.
look at a breathing control, again designed to alleviate. And these are techniques that we teach, and then people can just continue at home.
Fantastic.
Um,
Great.
is that
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. Wonderful
okay?
explanation. I think for someone who maybe has never done it, I think it's quite reassuring, to understand how it works and what you would get from it. So that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
And we came across each other. Well, you kind of reached
Mm-hmm.
out, didn't you, to me to ask me if I wanted to get involved in one of your events, your upcoming events
Yeah.
on menopause and how to support women through that phase. So thank you for that, first of all. That's
Yeah.
why we're talking here today. And would you like to explain to the people watching what your upcoming event is all about and how they can
Yeah.
get involved?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, so I reached out to you because uh, the benefit of having sort of nutrition being brought in together with yoga, and basically what the 14th of October event, which is coming up, is a 2-hour event where we will be looking at the sort of the interaction between the yoga and the nutrition, how we can reach a balance, or we can aim for, I wouldn't like to say reach because, but we can aim for balancing sort of the on the nutrition side, lifestyle, what can be done. And we talked about energy, vitality, And your input will be, you can talk about it a little bit more, and but your input will be on that, whereas the yoga that we'll be doing will be to actually help with, for example, the digestive system. There are specific yoga postures that we can do, and also breathing techniques that we can do in order to facilitate the the digestive system, the metabolism. And yoga doesn't fix the hormone imbalance. Okay, so that's something that I need to say. Okay, yoga doesn't doesn't make your body produce hormones, but what it can do, it can help. And with yourself and your input, then we can explore ways of perhaps lifestyle changes, what is good, and to intake into the body, because whatever, and I'm sure that you can talk more about this than I can, but my understanding is obviously that what we put in our body is how then our body reacts to
Absolutely.
it. And
Absolutely. Indeed. And so you're talking about energy. Obviously, I will be talking about the things that we do that steal our energy from us, because we and obviously eating enough is a really big thing as well. And the other topic that we'll be touching on at your masterclass will also be how to manage our weight as we go through this this time in our lives, because I think it's a topic that comes up a lot, and it's a bit of a challenging one. And once we understand a little bit more around the science of how our body actually works, the hormones that are involved, I know we're talking about menopause, so we're talking about estrogen predominantly. There's other hormones involved, especially in weight management, and stress comes up right at the top. So I'm pleased that you're talking about yoga's postures that help, or even just the whole exercise, really the whole class helps to reduce stress, and that is crucial when managing symptoms, because stress tends to exacerbate everything. So so I think, yes, both our disciplines just complement each other very well. By doing both of these, we can help. Like you said, we can't bring back what is changing, but we can help the body go through this, and because it is a natural stage, really, in our lives. Well, we all need to go through this, all ladies. So it's, what can we do to help us feel good as we go through this? There's no reason why we couldn't feel good, even though some days might be more challenging than others. I'm completely honest here. But at least when you have the tools, to use whenever you need them, and if you know what food to eat and how to eat, when to eat, and all of these little tricks, it can really, really, really help. So I'm really excited about the 14th. And then do you want to talk about the 5th of September as well?
Yes, so on the 5th of September, we have a free talk. You'll also join, and we'll hold that talk together. And again, we will talk about nutrition and yoga, and we'll just give a kind of a flare of what's coming up on the 14th, because obviously we have a much shorter time on the 5th of September at 7 to 8, and anyone can join online if they would like, and also attend. All this information, by the way, do you want me to say where they can find this information? Or
yes, I think maybe to make it easier for you and for everyone, maybe underneath the post in the Facebook group, you can share your links and everything.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So and anyone can register, and so the 5th of September is the free talk, and is there anything else that you would like to add, Sandrine, for
No,
the
I
free
think
talk?
I think that's fine. So basically, just to recap, so the 5th of September is a bit of an introduction, isn't it? When we're both going to introduce what we do, how we help women, and the benefits of what we do. And then the 14th will be a more in-depth session with more information on nutrition and some key steps that people could start applying straight away, and then a yoga session, as well as you're offering other things like the women's circle, and there's a couple of other things, isn't there, as well on offer?
Yeah, that will be in the description of the masterclass, so everything that will be offered.
That's it. And where is the 14th taking place, just for people just to see if they want to come in person?
So the 14th, we will be at Woodminster Village Hall, which is in Banstead. It's near Chipstead and Banstead, but as I say, anyone can join online. Okay, and so I'll provide the equipment, and you know, if people have got their own equipment, they can bring it along. If people want to join online, then we can adapt whatever equipment we have in the hall. We can adapt anyone joining online. Via
Is it mainly a mat that people need, or do they need other things?
Mat, no, because I will be supplying the bolsters, and I've also got blocks. We use the blocks quite a lot during the sequences, and you know, there will be practices, yoga practices that someone can actually take away. All the sequence and the postures that we will do. There will be kind of a home sheet that I can take away, and also I will be recording the guided meditation, and there will be a link to the recording, and will be available for a month.
Fantastic. Right, very good. Well, and the other thing I will invite you to do, if you wish, is yourself, Ross, is to share your details where people can find you. So if they want to follow you on Facebook, on Instagram, where you're doing some amazing videos, yeah, feel free to share all of that below this video when we're finished. All right.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much, Sandrine, for talking, for your time today, and I look forward to seeing you on the 5th of September and also on the 14th of October.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Ross.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Thank
All
you.
right. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Bye.